Alright, we're getting machines ready. We're at the grocery store. We're gonna take these machines to the back. We can't drive the trailer in there, so we're just picking them up and moving them. The lift they gave us is pretty small, so we got to get them really close to the edge. Our clips are a little illegal, but everything's good and safe. Check the trowel machine blades. They're a little bit dirty, so we're just cleaning them up, making sure there's nothing on them at all. Sometimes when we're done pouring, it's the end of a day, we kind of half-ass clean stuff, so we just want to make sure everything's good. They have to keep this building at a certain temperature between 50 and 60, so there's visqueen covering up the doors. It makes it a pain to get in and out, but it has to be on there. They don't want to lose all that heat. Start the machine to kind of get it warmed up, but the blades are still spinning. Put a little water on the existing concrete just to make it a little slipperier. You can put some soap, whatever you feel, but water works pretty good. You just throw a few water bottles down. Make sure you turn your blades up a little so you don't catch an edge. You move it right on over. Park it for the night. We'll be back later tonight. Got our Georgia buggies. We have about 11 of them there. Here's our big machine. This is a 10-footer. This is the one I run the pans on. Since that forklift's so small, I got to get the machine right to the edge, so it's a little nerve-wracking. Put a little water on the trailer so I can get it over. Our trailer will lower them down, but we're trying to be a little more efficient. Just pick it up with the forklift. A forklift will pick up 4,000 pounds when it's all the way in. That machine weighs 3,000. So when it's out, we got to be a little careful. So I keep an eye on the rear end of that machine, lifting it.
It's gonna shift to you a little. Something's gonna shift. Yeah, it'll come towards me.
As you can see, that machine, the lift there is pretty small, but it did okay. We didn't have any issues. It picked it up just fine.
Pans are the first thing we put on the slab. One, the pans help break it open to get rid of the plasticizer. You want that to evaporate and get out of there. Two, it helps get it flat. So you want the biggest machine on the biggest surface. This is a 10-footer. We got 5-foot pans on each side to get it flatter. Plastic blades are so we don't burn the floor black. We want to burn it, but not black. And they stop it from doing that. They don't want the discoloration, so the plastic plate take care of that. I'm going to do 2 videos. One on how to run double trowels, and the other video is going to be on our grocery slab pour. So there'll be a 2-part.
1 a.m. Got all our buggies going. Mud's here. We had the trucks about 10 minutes apart, but we could run. If they were there a little sooner, we could run 2 trucks. We got enough buggies. There's the laser Screed we rented from this company, so we really don't know these guys. It's a little slow to get started, but we get moving pretty good here. We pour the first truck out in 7 minutes. And it's kind of everybody getting familiar. Got my brother there. He's the one waving everybody over, telling them where to dump. When we got that many buggies, we kind of need someone telling them where to dump, otherwise it can get out of control. I got the green line. You can see that's where we're going to. We got to hand rod all our edges. That laser's taking care of everything. We just got to stop them at all our floor sinks, clean outs, electrical, make sure it doesn't hit any of that stuff. That was our first truck. Got our second truck starting to pour. Since we have so many buggies, we got guys pulling up wire. We have some dobies in there, but that wire is so flimsy. So we have 2 wire pullers pulling all the wire up, at least trying to. And my brother over there waving, telling them where to go, where to dump. There's a few shovel men. We can leave it pretty high, but they got to make sure all those low spots are filled in. Got some guys on the buggies that are really good, and some guys that aren't the best. We get moving here pretty good. There's a lot of exhaust fans in the building. There's some up pulling them out, air movers pushing them around. The exhaust from those buggies is pretty bad, and from that laser screed. The company we rented on the laser screed, they have 2 guys. One guy's watching to make sure he doesn't run anything over. There's a lot to look out for. They're on about their 3rd bay now. Cruising pretty good. You take a hand vibrator, vibrate all the edges. The laser screed has a vibrator on it and an auger, so it does its own thing. And we run a roller tamp and then a bull float behind it. We don't run anything else.
Right here, we start doing an L shape so that we can work our way out. If you just keep going straight, you get jammed up in the corner. So we do an L shape, and that way the laser's always moving and the buggies are always dumping. You go straight, the buggies have to wait for the laser, and the laser has to wait for the buggies. So we found this works really good. We do it about halfway through.
We're about 3.5 hours into the pour, and I'm putting the machine on. We ran hot water and 0.5% of non-chloride accelerator. So the floor's setting up pretty good. They're still pouring, but I got to start opening this up and panning. I walk across it and fill it out with my feet. About half of this is ready. Some was a little wet. It's starting to go, so I got to get something going on it. Those first 2 loads are setting up pretty good. You can see those little windrows. That means it's a touch wet. Kind of see the pattern there of leaving it. Come down and I'll split that each time. You kind of see that pattern. I adjust over, flip around, hit my wall lines and then back. We have a smaller 3-footer. The edge, we got to clean all these clean outs. They put zip ties on so they can find them, but we got to cut them off, otherwise they'll make little flowers in there. You don't want that. get off here and walk. I want to make sure, see how wet it is. So you look at my footprints, it's pretty hard. You just barely want footprints. You want that hard. I'll go out there, and once I feel how wet it is, kind of look at it, and when I'm on the machine, I can see my footprints from me walking, and I'll know where the wet spots are. Obviously, I'm not walking over the whole thing, but it can give me an idea. Got to get a feel for it. We got our other machines on. The machine that follows right behind me has metal blades on. They want metal blades, and then they want plastic. You can't just do only plastic because it doesn't get hard enough. They need that metal at the same time that they need plastic. Still have guys hitting edges and stuff, but we have to hit everything with the machine. They got to clean up all our floor sinks. All the floor sinks, they want the white showing around them. We have to hit all those real nice and tight. Then you have to machine them, and then you have to clean them again. It's kind of a pain, but they want everything machine finished. All the edges as tight as you can get it, because it all gets polished. Basically, they're grinding the floor just a tiny bit after we get done. All the way almost to the front of the building now. It's setting up pretty good. We're cruising pretty good. Just keep your patterns, try to keep them straight, but kind of feel that machine. And all the walk behinds hit all around those columns, they hit all your edges, everything. When the guy's got a trowel, then you got to hit it again with those walk behinds. There's the floor sink, got to hit all those. We were probably a little undermanned on hitting everything. We probably could have hit it a little better. But we only had so many guys and so many machines.
About 3/4 of the way machined out, maybe even almost 3/4 of the way poured out. So we're looking good. We're starting to snap lines for saw cut joints.
Still have the front to hit. We're getting close. Get off, check stuff out, fill up any holes. Getting close to the front right here. And start pulling some machines. We had a backup machine. One of our machines, a bolt fell off on the steering, so we had to get it off. Then switch machines, take the plastic blades off and put metal for our second machine. Put us down for about 20 minutes, but that's why you want to have an extra machine or two. Stuff breaks down, stuff will fail. You gotta make sure you got backup stuff. Starting to look a little more finished there. See how hard it is. You'll start seeing the shine in it. You're just polishing it with those plastic blades. It does really good. It's not the final polish. They do that 28 days later, but he's getting it finished nice. All he's doing, he's just staring at the floor, looking at every mark, every little thing you can possibly see. You got to have good lights. You want to see anything. You got bad lighting, it's hard to see. Sometimes you can see it from one way and not the other. All right, got the first, probably almost half done. We're starting to snap lines. Did all the measurements pre-marked out. The walls are pre-marked. A couple of the columns are off, so we have to off-center it off the columns because we want all the joints the same. Once we get everything snapped, start getting our saws and vacuums. I point out every little description, any little thing, you're looking at it. Front's still a little bit wet. We run a couple of hydrostatics and then a couple of the old ones that are just manual steering. I like having a little bit of both. Those manual ones you can get a little closer and do a little better with them. The hydrostatics are very hard to get close to. That's a twin motor machine right there. It does real good. And we got our diesels. There's our snap lines. Getting ready to saw. Just about ready to pull the pans completely off. I'm almost there. We kind of hit the last couple things. Pull the machines. Take them to the back. We got, if you can, we have a water buffalo pressure washer and we wash everything. If we have the time and the manpower. Sometimes you got to get the machines off too fast and a little bit harder to do, or you don't have access to water.
We're a few hours ahead of our last schedules that we did on the other slabs. Maybe 5 or 6 hours ahead. We're making really good time.
All right, these are vacuums. These ones, we have a couple that are motorized, gas powered, and then 2 that are electrical. They're 220. You got to run 2 cords for them. They don't want us sweeping these up. They want them vacuumed. On the bottom of the soft cuts, we put the Velcro strips that are soft so they don't scratch the floor. They don't want a different scratch surface when you saw, so it works real good. Nice straight cuts. There's our plug-in. Just so you guys know, those vacuums have a chain hanging from them, touching the ground. If you don't have a chain hanging down or something, when you touch those vacuums, they create static electricity in those hoses and they shock you a little bit. So you want to make sure there's a chain hanging down. This one, the dust, the filter is a little dirty, so we got to clean the filters. That's us cleaning our filters. We weren't ready to clean them, so put them in a bag and smacked them around a bunch. There's a proper way to do it. But we didn't have a choice. We had to get it done. We set flashing where the tires go. Sometimes it'll crack those joints, so you put a little flashing down to drive the saws over so it won't crack our joints. Just about done with the last machine. He's got just a little bit to do in that front. Other than that, the saws are going. We're cruising pretty good. Probably about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. All our soft cuts are the big ones. You want the big ones. You want about 4 of them. It'd be nice to even have more. You're cutting for a few hours. If you got more, it's got to cut every one. You got to cut it down so much faster. Or if you have a problem with the saw. Sometimes they aren't going down, some electrical problem, a dead battery, something. We gotta clean this machine, switch the blades back to the metal blades. Got all these saws running, the machine's running. It's extremely loud in the building. All right, now we're getting ready to start curing. This is a water cure with blankets on it. You gotta wet the floor down, let it sit 15 minutes, and then put the blankets out. Well, the water truck that we had scheduled didn't have the right hookups. We spent about a half hour getting everything figured for the right hoses. Rented water truck. Got it all figured out. Still need 100 or so feet of water hose. You just start flooding it. This is the same day. Probably about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Flood it completely for 15 minutes, 30 minutes. These are the curing blankets. They're basically the same stuff that's in diapers, but then it has a plastic on top to hold that moisture in. The objects to not have any wrinkles. It's very hard to do. We use silver tip brooms. They're just a softer broom. Try to get all those wrinkles out. Any wrinkles left in there kind of can mirror through that floor. This process takes a couple hours. Stuff's hard to cut. We got brand new razor knives, still doesn't cut it that good. There's probably a better way to do this. We haven't figured it out yet. Got a couple techniques, but by this time, you know, we're going on 14, 15 hours. Everybody's about spent. Really, their care has gone down to nothing. They just want to go home. So it's hard to go fast. Try to pull it tight, get the wrinkles out. Just make sure there's water underneath, and then you get water on top. These stay on for 5 to 7 days. I went back and checked every day, and they stay wet as can be. We actually went back on the 3rd day and took brooms and pushed any air bubbles out just to try to move those wrinkles so they don't stain. Those wrinkles will stain a certain way, or air bubbles will stain. You want to make sure you're trying to get those out. Right at halfway across, getting those covered. As soon as we get it all covered, we can go home. You see all the wrinkles in there. You got to try to push those out. Just about got it all. There we go, 17,000 square feet. Georgia buggy pour with the laser screed. All in one day. Heading out, 16-hour day, not too bad, a lot better than the other times. They were 22-hour days, so that's good. We went a lot faster. Remember, I'm not the best, but there's nobody better.